Hi and welcome to this section. Here we are going to discuss about the topic of going serverless. In our first video, we're going to see how we can create functions in AWS Lambda. So when we talk about going serverless, we mainly talk about using the AWS Lambda service which is available in AWS itself. So this is a serverless compute offering from AWS. Here the only thing that you have to do is to upload your code and run it. That's it. You don't need to spin up or create your own infrastructure. All of this will be managed by AWS, the Lambda service. This is the brilliant feature about the AWS Lambda service. You only have to worry about the code. You don't have to worry about the underlying server, the infrastructure. All of that will be managed by AWS. Now currently the languages supported by the AWS Lambda service are Node.js, Java, C#, Go and Python. So internally what the Lambda service does is that, so what you do first is you create a function, you upload your code and then you run it. Now when you run your code, the Lambda service automatically creates something known as a container. That container is actually used to run your Lambda function. When you have to run your function again, the container is started all over again. Now some important aspects which you should consider when running Lambda functions. The first thing is that you have to specify the amount of memory that should be allocated to your function and also the timeout for the function. Now when it comes to the amount of CPU, that will be allocated by the Lambda service itself. You don't have to worry about the CPU. All you have to worry about is the amount of memory and the timeout that you specify for the Lambda function. Now, the whole purpose of specifying a timeout is because in AWS Lambda, you only get charged for the amount of time the function runs. So even if you define the function and not run the function, you will not get charged. You only get charged when you run the function itself. Another important aspect is you have to ensure that if you want logging for your Lambda function, or if you need a Lambda function to access any other sort of services in AWS, such as DynamoDB, the simple storage service, then you need to assign something known as an identity and access management role. Some of the most important use cases of AWS Lambda, the first is automation. So what you can do is that you can use Lambda functions in response to events. A use case scenario, let's say you have a bucket defined in the simple storage service. Let's say you want to add an event whenever an object is added to the bucket. Another use case, you could also use CloudWatch to trigger an event, and that event could again call a Lambda function. Now all logs for the Lambda function are sent onto CloudWatch, and we're going to look into detail into the next video when we look at logging for AWS Lambda. Now in our demo, we're going to create a simple Lambda function. We're going to see how it works. And then we'll also go a little bit step further. We're going to see how the Lambda function can be used to work with the DynamoDB table. So let's go on to the AWS console. Let's see how to work with the Lambda service. So here we are in the AWS console. Now I'm currently in the Oregon region. Now in order to work with AWS Lambda, you can go on to the compute section and go on to Lambda. Here you will be presented with the dashboard. Now currently, since I don't have any function defined in this region, I'm going to go ahead and create a function. Now you can author a function from scratch. You can create from a blueprint. For now, we're going to create from scratch. I'm going to give a name for the function. Now in the runtime, I mentioned that there are certain programming languages which are available with Lambda. So I'm going to choose Node.js. Now we have to go ahead and create a new role. So this role will allow AWS Lambda to work with other AWS services. So I'm going to give a name for this role and go ahead and create my function. So once your function is in place, you will get an inline editor to work with the Node.js function. Now what I've done is that I just add a simple console.log statement. I'm going to go ahead and save this function. And now we can actually go ahead and test the function here itself. We just have to create a test template. So in case if you want to pass in test data onto the function, you can do so. I'm going to give a simple event name and click on create. I'll then go ahead and test our Lambda function. We can see that it is a success. If we go on to the details, you will see the console.log hello world and the amount of time you've been billed for. Now I want to go ahead and show how we can make AWS Lambda work with another service. So let's see how to work with the DynamoDB service. So I'm going to open up AWS in a new tab because over here I want to go to the DynamoDB service. So I'll go on to database, go on to DynamoDB, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a simple table in the DynamoDB service. So I'll click on create table. I'll give a name for the table. I'll give what will be the partition key. So I'll mention it as ID. I'll make the data type as number. I will use the default settings and click on create. The table creation should be pretty fast. It should just take less than a minute to create the table in DynamoDB. That's how fast this service is. Now once the table is in place, you can go on to items and start creating items for or in the DynamoDB table. Let me add a value of 1 and append a new attribute that's a string. I'll put it as name and give it a value. I'll click on save. Right, so we have one item in our DynamoDB table. Now I've gone ahead to AWS Lambda and I've actually changed the code. So now this code is using the AWS SDK. Over here, we are creating a new instance of the DocumentDB client. This will allow us to interact with the table in the DynamoDB service. We provide what is the name of our table, which is customer. We provide what will be the value of the key ID. So this will be 1. Please know that you can also dynamically pass the value of the ID. So basically I'm saying that I want to fetch the data or get the row of data from the table for which the ID is 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this function just for now. But before we can run our function, there are a couple of things we have to do. So first we have to ensure that we increase the timeout for our function because it will take more time to interact with the DynamoDB service. I will click on save. We also have to open AWS in a new tab because we have to also work with the identity and access management role. So remember, there is an IAM role attached to the Lambda function which allows it to work with other AWS services. But we have to ensure that we change the permissions on the role to work with the DynamoDB service. So I'm going to go on to roles. I'm going to find for Lambda role. So it's our Lambda role demo. I'm going to go ahead and attach a policy. In the policy, I'm going to search for DynamoDB. And for the moment, I will choose the one which has full access to DynamoDB. Click on attach policy. So that's done. Let's go ahead to AWS Lambda. So let's go ahead and test our function. Now once it's done, if you go on to details, you will now see the item being returned from the DynamoDB table. So this is how easy it is to interact with other AWS services from the Lambda service itself. Let's move on to our next video, which is deploying, monitoring, and scaling in AWS Lambda.